Welcome home, all. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, and a couple nights ago, we started off the show. I did it a little bit different. Again, we are in Women's History Month, and I am going to spend, as I said, this past time, a little bit of time at the front end of the show to make sure that we get some time in, so I'm not pinched at the back end of the show to talk about some women in Women's History Month, specifically either Mexican American women or Latino women, Hispanic women in general. So I'm going to keep it to that, and start the show in this month, March, beginning with talking about women that, and I want to make sure I'm clear here. This isn't like a specific, like, oh, I think these or that. Oh, these women are pretty or good looking or hot, or they're the best at this one thing or best at another thing. It's not that. It's more a question or a case of women that I see, and obviously, yeah, I'm not female, but I'm a guy, and I'm trying to get guys, males, men to put this on their radar and pay attention to, with the intent of providing some attention and support and direction for young men, young males, to the women out there that are doing good work, good things, incredible things, et cetera, that deserve more attention. And I think I want to pin on that. These women are the ones that I think need more attention. And so in some ways, like what we did on the Tuesday, I brought up a female conductor. Her name's Alondra de la Parra. She is a Mexican woman from Mexico, a conductor, internationally known and global in profession. She's that good, wanted by all of, if not most of, the greatest symphonies in the world. And notice that it's like you get the New York Phil, you get the Berlin Symphony, etc. She travels the world and does it everywhere. She's pretty badass. And so pointed her out, and then I provided into the chat when I got home later at night. I provided her links, her name, obviously, and then her links to her Instagram and to her YouTube. And so, again, we're going to use this portion of the show, at least during the month of March, to draw spotlight and attention to women, females that I think, men need to be paying more attention to, and men need to be supporting more for a variety of reasons. But again, it's my belief, my direction, that these women that I'm bringing up are in need of, or should be getting, more attention, more support, more love, and more growth. And so I said, go to Instagram, go to YouTube, like their page, subscribe their page, follow them, whatever it is you need to do. They need more attention. They need our support as Mexican men, Hispanic men, Latin men. Support your own people, support the people that are like you, support the people that need that help. And I wouldn't do that if, we got all that attention. We don't, and I think that's a very hard road to hoe if you're going to argue that counter, to me, that Mexican, not just females, obviously, but men in general, for a lot of the things that I've already listed in prior shows on Super Mex Nation, the things that we are not, the things that we do not have, the things that we lack, and need to engage ourselves in going after those things in a positive way. So bottom line is, I want to, again, list, name, women, ladies that deserve or are deserving of more of our attention, more of our respect and our support, so we can continue to grow them. Again, it's Women's History Month, but I'm going to be 100% clear. Look, and just about everybody out there is the same this way. I've got a mother, all right? I've got a wife, I've got a daughter, I've got a sister. So at least in all four of those respects, I have one on all ends: a mother, a sister, a wife, and a daughter. Okay. And even though I'm a pain in the butt to all four of them, individually and collectively, not one of them will say that I won't do what is necessary to see them grow. Not one of them. I have done that. I have given of myself to make sure that these women in my life are strong, capable, talented. They are already anyway. Okay. They already are. They're just that. But I do what I can in my way to to see them grow. And so I'm making it really simple for my viewer, my listener, especially you young dudes out there. And obviously, if you're female, please, I think you get the point. You're all over it. You're with it. But for young dudes, my guys, ex-wrestlers, ex-students, fighters, etc., all my guys, I'm telling you directly, and not in a negative or evil way, but I'm telling you directly, you need to support your women. Okay, not just there, right? But by drawing attention to females and women that are doing incredible things at an elevated level nationally, internationally, you are helping your women. You are helping your daughter grow up and see that, oh yeah, there's no limit to what my capabilities are, how far I can go in my career profession. That is what we're doing here. I'll leave it here, before I move on to naming these two in particular we're going to do tonight. I've spent a lifetime watching Mexicans not support each other, Mexican Americans. Spent a lifetime of watching Mexican American men, not only not support Mexican American women, but, do things to them, not good things, physical, psychological. Okay. So if Mexican America is ever going to be anything in this country, the United States, we need to be operating on all cylinders. That means we can't have half of the population not reaching their full potential. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're a guy out there and you're hearing me, you understand, you've got a wife, you've got a daughter, you've got a mom that birthed you, then you should be down with me 100%. You should be all over this. And it's as simple as just acknowledging the fact and then doing something about it in your sphere, in your house, in your world, in your life. And if we all do that, then we won't even have the need for this conversation. It's going to get done, right? If everybody does it. But again, you need to draw it out. You need to draw attention to it, draw focus on it, acknowledge what it is, acknowledge the issue, the problem, and then address it, and then do something about it. And this is a really simple one. What I'm giving you this month of Women's History Month is I'm giving you, literally giving you, good women that are doing good things in their careers, their professions, their arenas, and that are deserving of more, because we need to grow them, we need to help them, we need to support them. Okay. And last point to this, because I didn't flesh that out as much in the prior two shows. It was hard / easy. Hard because there's plenty. Easy because I just made some decisions and I decided to just try to do it kind of, I think I said this last show, cross-curricular, cross-genre, cross-profession. So, for instance, on Tuesday, we did and drew attention and spotlight and focus to a lady who was at the top of her profession in classical music conducting. Okay, conducting of classical music. Pretty awesome, pretty cool. And I told you, I shared with you, like, she's one of my favorite conductors, period. Musicians, period. If you don't think a conductor's a musician, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You need to dig in deeper. They're beyond just musician. They're musicianship as a thought, okay? Because they're uniquely capable. I mean, most conductors can play a variety of instruments, not just a single instrument. And when it comes to music theory, music comprehension, music history, they are that. They're not just singular. Oh, I play a great piano. I play a great violin. I play cello. Okay. They're that and more. They're like the captains that do all of that, right? The soldier in the trench that has a sergeant that can do all the jobs. That's a conductor. And I'm kind of, cheating a little bit. If you're super classical and music and, oriented and knowledgeable, don't beat me up too bad, but I'm giving generalizations for the mass, right? For everybody. Okay. So let's get down to business. So that was Tuesday. So today I've got two ladies, and we'll make it kind of quick. It's not super, again, not super complicated. I'm trying to make this simple and comprehensible to my listener, my viewer. I've got two women that are in news media. All right, news media. And so they are seen and they are on TV, they're on television, and they're probably more seen and more known, and they actually have a bit of a following, more than other ladies that I'm going to list for the rest of this month. Some of the ladies I'm going to list may not have much attention or much following, not a lot of Instagram followers or YouTube, etc. They're not, but these two do, because they're on TV for a living. Okay, so they have attention. But having said that, having enumerated all of that, why am I, focusing on these two? Because within the arena, within the profession, within the world of being on TV as a host in media, news media, etc., they kind of stand out because they're only a few, believe it or not. And I'm talking about at the national level, right? Local stuff, you're going to get Mexican-American females, you're going to get Latina females, depending on where you're at. I mean, if you're Florida, you probably got some Cuban women. And if you're in California and Fresno, where I'm at, you have some Latinas and Mexican-American women on air consistently and with building careers. But this is at a national to international level. And if you jump to that level, it isn't there. It isn't there. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So the first one, and I've watched her for a while now. She's been on for more than a few years, worked her way up, the right way, in my opinion, local, create, grow, learn, be more, move your professional career. Her name is Ana Cabrera. I think she's been on, I think currently she's on MS Now. And I think she has her own, I know she had her own show for a while, her own hourly show, which is a big deal, right? To host your own show. We've got plenty that are on as guests, but not necessarily as a host of their own, to where we get a consistent hour. And I say we get a consistent hour of a Mexican-American female that has her own show on one of, I would say, the three major news media outlets. For the most part, that's CNN, MS Now, and Fox. And don't do the political with me now, because I'll shoot you down. But of those three, those are the three big ones. Those are the ones that get the most attention, the most coverage, and the most viewership. I think she's been on CNN and MS Now. She might be on MS Now, but she has hosted or is hosting her own hour. And I make a point when I can. I think it's early in the morning. I'm not a morning guy so much, but I try to watch when she's on. Okay, so that's Ana Cabrera. And I'm pretty sure she is Mexican-American, or at least of Mexican-American descent. Okay? So specifically Mexican-American. And the other is Alicia Menendez. She's not Mexican-American. She's Cuban, so Latina, Hispanic. And she's primarily East Coast. And I think she has a show on MS Now called The Weeknight. And I'm going to go on there and say this and get myself in trouble, I hope. She used to have her own show for a while on MS Now. And then, if not The Weekend, I want to say The Weekend, where she had her own show. It wasn't, the premier want is the hosting of a weekly, daily show of your own to host Monday through Friday. And obviously, like the primetime slots, they don't have those. And that's why I'm bringing that attention, right? I'm bringing that forward. If you're on in the prime time and you're a host on one of the major three, then you're making a lot of money, you get a lot of viewers, etc. You're there. I don't think either Ana Cabrera or Alicia Menendez, one of Mexican-American descent, one of Cuban-American descent, I don't think either of those two ladies has had their own, I'm saying their own, show that they host alone, their own. Alicia Menendez is on with two other co-hosts, so I'm not taking away from what she does with her co-hosts. But I'll say it, I'd like to see her get her own show. I mean, the woman is definitely talented, capable, intelligent, and good on camera. Fact. It's objectively true. You can be a homer and over this or that, or you can just be a hater, a homer, whatever, and find your reasons to not like or like one way or the other. I'm spitting from an objective perspective. The two women that I'm talking about are both intelligent. Clearly, if you listen to them, they can speak the language, communicate, and command the language to address or get their point across on live TV consistently every time they're on, and daily. I would like to see either of those two women get their own show and get their own hosted. And I'll go a step further. I'd like to see a Mexican-American female on one of the three major networks, news networks anyway. I'd like to see one of these females get their own hosted hour during primetime. Now, if you're in the Trump cult, you're not gonna like the fact that I said that the one of them, it's CNN and MS Now. But I'm gonna be really clear. I've never seen a Mexican-American female on Fox. hosting her own show at all. And let's be blunt and clear, because I don't play games on this show. They're usually blonde and blue-eyed. So that kind of diminishes the pool to go after some Mexicans that are brunette, dark-eyed, etc., right? And for the record, obviously I'm aware there are Mexicans or Mexican-Americans that are light-skinned, fair-haired, etc. I am. Got it. But there aren't any on Fox. Okay? So, and for the record, I have stated that yes, Fox and the other two are the big three. They are the main three. I'm acknowledging that. But I've never seen any on Fox. And so my point is, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So I'm going to hope, want, / put out there on air right now on my time that I'd like to see Ana Cabrera or Alicia Menendez get her own hosted show on primetime on any channel, any news station, but obviously one of the big ones, right? One of those three. I'd like to see that, because no one's going to tell me these ladies are not capable, qualified, competent, intelligent, articulate, communicative, all the above. I can go on and on with a whole bunch of good language, right? I'm that too, by the way. I can communicate. I can spit language. I can give you words that sound like much, but they're not really that much. They're just examples and verbs and etc. So let me finish there for the night as we finish up our opening Women's History Month part of the show. Ana Cabrera and Alicia Menendez. One is Mexican-American descent. One is Cuban-American descent. I'd like to see either of those two ladies or both get their own show on primetime television. That's what I'd like to see. Okay, that's my point. If you're out there in Mexican America or Latino America, Hispanic America, you should be with me. This is an easy one, by the way. This is an easy one. You should have no reasons not to want what I want here. And I did say, I may say some things that you may not like, but I will also say things that you should like. This is a softball, quite literally. It's right over the plate. Just knock it out of the park, right? It's easy. I'd like to see a Latina woman, a Mexican-American woman, get her own hosted show, primetime, on one of the major news networks. Not a big ask if you're me, at least as far as I'm concerned. There's my point. Okay, let's get down to business on the day and the week. I wanted to bring this up because it kind of left over from last show and the show prior. I'm going to point this out. I know I've done this before on other shows, and I even talked about this particular person 4 or 5 years ago when I was doing, I was on radio, on talk radio, conservative talk radio, and started doing my own streaming show on Facebook and YouTube, prior to the pandemic. I raised the point because I am at least astute enough, knowledgeable enough on foreign policy, our foreign policy in particular, and what we're engaged with and who our allies are and what we do with those allies and enemies. And I brought this gentleman's name up back then as an issue for me personally, and I think it should be an issue for you. That's why I raised the name. The gentleman I'm talking about is Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Now, Bibi, as he goes by, his nickname, Bibi, obviously short, a diminutive for Benjamin. There's no other way to say it. He has used, manipulated, and played with multiple presidents, going back to Iraq and weapons of mass destruction. And very few people, if any, are going to convince me otherwise that this man in particular has used the United States and successive presidents of both parties for decades, 20 years, easy, okay? And I'm going to say this point blank. I've already made a point to note that there are a lot of people out there right now talking about this war, this Trumpstein war, and the need for it now, even though they flipped and flopped like a damn fish out of water, flipping all over the damn place. Oh yeah, now war is good, right? Even though Trump said that he would not do war. That was the past. All the other presidents, he's better than them. We're not going to get into more wars and start wars that end up killing our people. Well, that's done. And his followers in this cult flipped and flopped on it. And now they're back on this side. It's all good now. War's fine. I was uniformly against the weapons of mass destruction argument at that time. For those of us that were around, I'm not talking about those of you that are younger and didn't really know that. My point in bringing up, the forever war thing. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. Too long. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination anybody would disagree with me on that end. On the left or the right, by the way, Republican or Democrat. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. If you're disagreeing with that, you're just disagreeing to be disagreeable. In which case, I disagree with you. Get out of my show. So I was against weapons of mass destruction as a thought and as a concept. I told people even back then, friends that were asking, friends that had never served, but they knew I did, friends that knew that I served during the first Persian Gulf War. And I said simply, they don't have weapons of that type and quality or capability that could harm us here in the United States. The way it was led to believe that they had weapons that can reach the United States and other parts and do damage to us. It was a lie. It was garbage. And it was eventually proven to be a lie. But I know that Bibi Netanyahu pushed that narrative and got people to believe it and manipulated and used our presidency then, George W. Bush, and got him and his administration to believe that it was a good time to go to war. And the rationale, or the creation of a rationale, was that they had weapons that could cause that kind of destruction, weapons of mass destruction, and reach us and cause Americans harm and other countries harm. And again, all lies, all garbage, right? And so in the meantime meaning a couple decades, Bibi Netanyahu has remained in power in Israel for a long time, even through criminality, blatant corruption that he's been caught on, but he's used the mechanism of government to stay in power to keep himself out of trouble. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, exactly. Government, when it's working at odds with the thought and the concept of government for people, is when government is manipulated, used, and bastardized in service to or for specific individuals or an individual. Bibi Netanyahu has done that. Donald Trump has done that. He's a criminal. He's a convict. He already got busted. He was guilty, but he's in office. In many ways, same as Bibi Netanyahu. Okay, but here's the difference, and I'm going to pin here and then I'm going to move on. This is the reason why Bibi Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin, Kim in Korea, and Putin for sure, and to a lesser degree, the recent Khomeini that we killed, all of those people that I've named have been in their position of leadership longer than 4 years. Okay. Now, as I say that, some of those positions, for instance, Vladimir Putin is elected, wink, wink, haha. Okay. Officially, he is elected, but the whole world knows it's a joke and it's a game. And he's played games with his election system. So he basically rigs the system so he always wins. Okay. Which there is serious concern that Trump is doing now, doing things to gum up the works and make it harder for people to vote so that he can get his people to vote so he can stay in power, right? At least for the midterm election. And then maybe beyond that, maybe he tries to stay for a third term. I wouldn't put it past this sorry ass. I wouldn't. Probably about the same. So Putin gets elected over and over again, but he stays in power, and he's been there 20 plus years. Bibi Netanyahu is elected or selected by his, their parliamentary system, and gets selected as prime minister and leader. So he gets it done mechanically through the devices of their government, stays in power more than 4 years. Obviously, the Kims in Korea, it's literally for life. So they stay in power. And here's the point that you need to know as an American, is that we elect the president for 4 years, sometimes maybe 2 terms. Maybe they go 8 years. But everyone that I just named, all those other gentlemen, all those people, all those leaders of other countries have outlasted and have the ability, watch this, Because if you're strategy minded like me, a military guy, they have the ability to outlast and be patient because they know the American presidency cannot go longer than 1 to 2 terms, 4 to 8 years. They know that. So they calculate out and they plan strategically on how they work with us, how they use us, how they manipulate us, and how they manipulate our presidents, because they know our presidents cannot stay as long as they can. So they have the unique ability of waiting out our presidents, good or bad. I'm not doing a debate here of which president did this one. I'm not saying any of that. I'm keeping it factual and data-driven. Our presidents are elected for 4-year terms, maybe 2. So maximum of 4 to 8. Bibi Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin, Kim in Korea now, and other world leaders that are despots, autocratic, dictator types, they can wear our presidents out and outlast them. Therefore, they can plan strategically and wait out when we have a new leadership and new term. So their plans are longer lasting and much more executable. You understand what I'm saying? They can execute their plans over the course of decades, and ours cannot. Because when one president comes back to another, and we usually, ping pong back and forth, then you're going to get a different administration. They're going to do a different direction. And other world leaders have calculated that, and that's how we get manipulated and used. Bibi Netanyahu, and I will say on record, I think he has used, manipulated our presidents, all of them, at least going back to 2000, at least to WMD's, weapons of mass destruction under George W. Bush. But during the entire 21st century, Bibi Netanyahu has been in power, and he has manipulated us, the United States. And now we're in another war, which is stupid to me. And at some level, and I'm going to be careful here, I almost don't want to just blame a president, right? But I would say this. You would think as a president, if you're running for the office, if you want to be in that seat, you should calculate out in advance. If this little Mexican dude in Fresno, California right now can articulate that message for the average American to understand, then wouldn't it be logical and reasonable that the average American, and for sure, the average president, whoever they are, Democrat or Republican, shouldn't a president understand and know the history of our relationship with Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and how they've used us? I don't think that's a lot to ask, ladies and gentlemen. I think presidents should know that stuff going in and plan for it accordingly to not be manipulated again by people who have been manipulating their predecessors. That's not a lot to ask, as far as I'm concerned. Because again, if this little Mexican out in West Fresno, California can figure that out, then for damn sure our president should be able to figure that out and do something about it. So we're not pulled into another stupid war for no damn reason other than the fact that Israel likes having the big brother to come in and do the dirty work and get in a fight. Literally, it's like the little brother pulling you into a fight. You're like, you just get out of the alley and like your little brother saying, and next thing you know, you're throwing chingazos with 5 guys because your little brother said something stupid and now you're in it. Those true stuff, by the way. Those are true stories. I don't want to go too far, but let's just say that has happened. I've had that happen to me, where someone got me into something I wasn't aware of because they were running their mouth and talking smack. And next thing you know, I'm getting beat up by 5 guys because I had to go back somebody else. It's the same thing. All right. That's an individual, but this is governmental and country. So be aware of that. I want to make sure I put that out. I thought about that long and hard after I listened to the show from the last Tuesday and then last Thursday. And I needed to point that out. And I want my audience, my viewer, to be aware. Bibi Netanyahu technically is an ally of the United States. He's a buddy of the United States, but he's a buddy, you know what? All right. He's a buddy, but he's the buddy that gets us into trouble. He's the buddy that gets us into stuff that we shouldn't be in. He's the buddy that gets us into problems that cause our people harm. Americans are dying right now for a war, and I'm going to say it blatantly and coldly. I hear all these little chicken hawks these little tough guys talking about all this and all that. Look at us. Look at we got a powerful military. Yeah, we do. So what? Like it takes a genius to figure out we got the world's most powerful military. That's easy. What's not easy is having the world's most powerful military and not having to use it because we're not getting involved in stupid, not getting involved in stupid wars and getting our people killed for no damn reason other than we got manipulated into it. Because that, in my opinion, I'll always state fact or opinion, in my opinion, we have no business being there. But it's a very logical and reason-driven assessment and opinion. We don't have to be there. Moving forward out of this, and most of you know that you've been watching the show, most of you know what I feel about this war. It is distraction, deflection, an abomination, a whole bunch of other shins, T-I-O-N words. But it is clear to me, and you know, I don't do this jokingly. I do that meaningfully because I do believe that we are in a war because we've been manipulated, one, on that end that I just explained to you, on the side of Israel. And two, because Trump is attempting to deflect and draw attention away from his domestic issues with the Trump-Epstein files. And I said last show, and I was really clear and explicit toward the back end of that show, it's not going away. It's only going to get worse. There will only be more that comes out that directly ties or implicates Donald Trump in, and careful here, in child sex trafficking, underage girls in sex, pedophilia. Okay? There will be more. I am as positive and certain of it as is humanly possible. And we're already beginning to see the things begin to bleed out and leak out. And I think I said last show, and I'm going to reiterate that point tonight because it's an important one. Donald Trump is not going to live forever, even though they say evil never dies, right? Evil never dies, but he will die at some point. And I have no doubt whatsoever that even if we don't get more now, even if we don't, and I've already said we will, but even if we got absolutely zero, let's say objectively or arbitrarily, let's just leave it there. Even if we got no more information out of what's already in the Epstein files, I can guarantee you and with certainty that when Donald Trump is dead and when he's gone, there will be more people. There will be more people that are willing to come out now and say things that they know. And the rest of us are like, why didn't you do that earlier? I think it's obvious, and I'm not making an excuse for it. I don't like it. But I'm going to make it clear. There's no question in my mind that there are people that don't want to say more, that don't want to bring out facts, that don't want to implicate him even more, that don't want to finger him as the person, the culprit involved with all this garbage and this dirty stuff. Because they fear for their life. They're afraid. It's quite simple. They're afraid. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I've been watching more and more because it's almost impossible not to. More and more about the breakdown and the timeline and all the evidence tied to and around Jeffrey Epstein's death in prison and how he died. Officially, what was put out was that it's a suicide. But more and more is coming out on that end. And you have to ask the question. Now, I'm not willing right now because I don't make statements that I can't prove to be factual or no. But there's nothing wrong with questioning either, because I'm a firm believer in that, the Socratic method of articulation and question and answer. But yeah, there is more and more coming out on the circumstances surrounding leading up to and immediately after the death of Jeffrey Epstein in that cell. And it's legitimate stuff that's coming forward. So I would go out on a limb, not too far, by the way, and say that, yeah, is it conceivable? Rhetorical question. Is it conceivable that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a suicide victim? that maybe somebody did something to him, maybe somebody killed him? I think that's reasonable to ask. That's fair, especially when you draw larger context and relativity to others that have been tied to Jeffrey Epstein as well, that have also died under mysterious or questionable circumstances. And I think I'm gonna maybe I'll do this next one, next show. There was a guy, and I'm saying next show because I'm gonna get you the name and the specifics. There was a guy tied to Jeffrey Epstein in sex trafficking in France that committed suicide in a cell, same method as Jeffrey Epstein, exact same thing. Hung himself, killed himself, same exact thing. So come on, you don't just anybody with a reasonable intellect, anybody, even those of you with the sub-Forrest IQ, it's reasonable to question, reasonable to ask that if you keep seeing evidence and a pattern, that it's reasonable to ask if maybe there's something else going on there. That is fair. That is the very nature of our inquisitiveness as a country and as a people. As the United States and as Americans, we like to pride ourselves on wanting to know, being inquisitive, curious, asking questions. We like to think that. But the window we're running through right now in our own personal zeitgeist of who we are, what we are, the feel out there, a lot of you are not wanting to because you don't want the answers. I do. I actually do want the answers. So I do believe that the Trumpstein war, I don't know. I can't say that it's 100%. That's why they started the war. No. But I do know that that is a calculation, because if they're not calculating out the amount of attention it'll draw away from the Epstein files, then they're stupid. And I don't think they're stupid. I think they're corrupt and evil. I don't think they're stupid. But it is a calculation, and it is working calculation. More attention has been diverted to the wars because it's daily. People are dying. You're going to pay attention to that. But I haven't lost sight of the Epstein files, Operation Epstein Fury, the Trumpstein war. Okay. So to wrap here, I'm going to try to get done a little quicker, a little earlier this time. Because of this war, in news today, today's news, I read a little bit, listened to, didn't do as much as I probably should have wanted to. Didn't have that much time to just do that. Had a couple other things I had to get done today. There was a shooter, and there's the ugly part of being American right now. Like, okay, yeah, there's a shooter all the time. Yeah, there's always a shooter, right? There's always someone shooting someone in America. We're known for it. We're proud of it. At least I'm not. And there were people killed at Old Dominion University. Obviously, there's still more ongoing. It was today, happened earlier today, and still ongoing. But I'm bringing this up as a segue from the Trumpstein war to events today. Trump MAGA people are not going to like it, not going to want to hear it. They just want to deflect it and say that's just the way it is. Like Trump saying that Americans are dying, that's the way it is because he doesn't give a shit about American lives. Fact. They're naming them, and this is in the words of Mr. Double-Fisted Drinking Party Guy, Kash Patel, our FBI director. Now, I don't know about you, but I sure as hell don't have an image of an FBI director as a double-fisting drunk at a party, partying with the hockey team, getting drunk like a fool, acting like a fool, looking and being a damn fool. That's our FBI director. But he said that they're classifying this or calling this a terror attack. So let me read this little bit to you real quick. So authorities investigating a shooting at Virginia College Thursday that left one victim dead and 2 injured as an act of terrorism, FBI Director Kash Patel said. Okay, so that's on record. Gunfire erupted shortly before 11 a.m. in an ROTC classroom at Old Dominion in Norfolk, Virginia. The victim was Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw, and that's even his ROTC instructor. He was the older dude, described by Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger as a devoted teacher who didn't just lead a life of service to our country. He's a vet. He taught and led others to follow that path. So a dead vet. 2 other U.S. Army personnel were injured, U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll said. The gunman is, and this is the crux of it, a former member of the Army National Guard who pleaded guilty to terrorism-related charges, was also killed in the shooting. Now, I'm gonna pin back on that for a second. His name was, the FBI identified him as Mohammed Baylor Jalloh, Jalloh. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. Jalloh, 36 years old. Dominique Evans, special agent in charge of the agency's Norfolk field office, said that he shouted Allahu Akbar and was subdued by students who rendered him no longer alive. While law enforcement officials have not yet confirmed a motive, federal authorities said in the previous 2016 case, be critical here, that Jalloh was involved in a plot to murder U.S. military personnel. So he traveled to North Carolina in 2016 to attempt to buy an AK-47, but the gun owner refused to sell him. That's a small favor. According to federal authorities, he then bought an AR-15 at a local gun store on July 2nd, 2016, and was arrested on the next day. Authorities said in the 2016 case that Jalloh attempted to provide funds to people hoping to join the Islamic State terrorist group better known as ISIS. Jalloh ultimately pleaded guilty to attempting to provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization and was sentenced to 11 years in prison as well as 5 years of supervised release. So let me wrap that and finish here for the night, and I want you to remember this going forward. This was 2016, and I can do the simple and say, well, yeah, Trump was president, and during that term, okay? But I'm not going to pin on that. I'm going to look at the right now, because that's what, Trump MAGA people like, oh, no, they'll find a way to make it about Biden. They'll find a way to make it about Obama. They'll find a way to make it about Bill Clinton. Hell, at this rate, they might as well say it was John F. Kennedy. It's always somebody else. It's never their fault. They have no spine that way in claiming or accepting responsibility for something on their watch. Can't do it. They don't have the spine. They lack the character necessary to do that. Fact. So the issue here for me, obviously, is he was National Guard. That's a problem. That is a damn problem. It's not unheard of. It's not possible that you can't radicalize service members. That has been done. It's done quite often. Okay. Not like monster scale, but it is done. But what I want to point out is this. If that is a known, if that is a given, if we already knew that, if we've known that, and if the FBI also knew that this guy was already convicted for ties to ISIS and funding ISIS, helping ISIS, then how in the hell did this happen and the FBI knew nothing or did nothing about it? How the hell does that happen? Known terrorist supporter, convicted of it. Yet he's out on our streets blowing people away, killing a vet at a school. I thought Donald Trump was deporting all the evil bad guys. I thought Donald Trump was getting rid of all the evildoers that are here illegally or bad, terrorist supporters. Instead, we're getting rid of little girls, little kids, and people that actually work. All kinds of screwed up, all kinds of wrong. And I'm going to say it again. That conviction was in 2016. President Trump has been president twice since that time. And for the record, he's the one that campaigned on it. Getting rid of, deporting, removing all the evildoers. This guy just went and blew away someone, and the FBI knew about it. Hearken to my earlier point. We got old Cash double-fisting Patel, more concerned with partying in Milan with our hockey team, spending money on flights, taxpayer expense, to go party and travel all over the damn world. This is what happens when incompetence meets lack of qualification and lack of actually giving a damn about American people. No question in my mind. And for the record, I've already said that. They got rid of Kristi Noem, thankfully, finally. Should have never been there. For the record, who hired her, right? The guy who says he only hires the best people. I will go on record and state, period, and I'll argue with anybody on it if you'd like to. Kristi Noem, joke of a Homeland Security hire. Kash Patel is going to go down as one of the worst directors, if not the worst director in the history of the United States for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He is beyond incompetent. It's borderline criminal incompetence. He will be known and designated, written about in history books as one of, if not the worst Federal Bureau of Investigations director in the history of this country. Tag that with Tulsi Gabbard, who spends more time at polling booths as the director of national intelligence, basically handling all of our intel coming from all over the world to make sure we don't get attacked again, because that's what the job was created for, by the way, after 9/11. She's spending more time at polling places trying to find voter rolls. Where is she at in all of this? And last point, and some of you will say, well, that's kind of unfair, Richard, that you're just pointing them out because they're, it happened. It happens to everybody. You just made the argument for me. If it happens all the time, but you have a president said that he was going to stop it, then is he lying? Or are you making excuses for him because he's just like everybody else? There's your intellectual, ethical conundrum. He either lied to you and you believe it, which is highly plausible, highly believable, because he lies a lot and you believe it a lot. Shit taco, anyone? Salsa, please. He lies to you, or he's just like everybody else, meaning all other presidents, and there's always an attack of some kind. And that everything that he said, everything that in terms of immigration, everything of security is a joke. It's a joke. And I'm not going to stay too long on it, but I think it's, let me get all constitutional up on you. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That Kash Patel is a joke and the worst FBI director in the history of this country. We hold these truths to be self-evident. If they're not self-evident to you, you might just be in a cult. Let me pin and stop there, but I want to flesh out those 2 points as normal for my audience, my viewer, my listener. Pay attention to the people that are dying for this joke of a war, this crime of a war, emanating and stems from a crime, the Epstein files, the Trumpstein files. And now, because even as of today, as I was informed on my way over here, California is under direct warning, threat. I don't know what the elevation is yet. We'll find out. But drone attacks, other types of terrorist activity that isn't big budget, it's not like they have to fire a missile at us. There are a lot of ways you can kill Americans on American soil without having to spend a lot of money. And I'm going to say it. If I'm a terrorist, if I'm in Iran, if I'm Iranian, I'm not sitting there letting the United States whoop my ass. Okay? I don't know about you, but I can't assume that all Iranians are candy ass and they're just going to sit there and take it. I can't. I'm going to assume they have some competence, some people that are capable and that have a backbone and are willing to fight and die. If I'm an Iranian, I'm going to hit the United States back. And I'm not going to take a shot at their destroyer in the Gulf. I'm not going to try to go toe up with an American on the ground. They're not there yet, probably coming. No, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to get crafty, creative, in death with drones, with alternative asymmetric type warfare, weaponry, using people, suicide bombers. I can go on and on. As I finish this show tonight, I want you to be aware, my viewer, my listener, there is more coming. More Americans are going to die. And I don't mean just in theater. Don't be surprised if there is increased radicalization on the part of people that are willing to kill Americans because of what's going on in the war that we just started. Because make no mistake, you're not going to draw a through line straight to this guy to that guy. That's why they did it. But I think in those terms militarily, I have no doubt that there will be more death, and it won't be relegated to just in theater, meaning over there. There's going to be some Muslim radicalized person, some Iranian, some something that's going to kill Americans. They're going to kill Americans. I'd be shocked and amazed. And watch this. And I'm hopeful not. I hope not. I honestly do. I don't want to see Americans die. But I'd be remiss and wrong to not acknowledge the possibility that we may have more death, not specifically military death. And if you're honest with yourself and you're not too far down that Trump cult rabbit hole, you need to acknowledge that as well. If you're just honest and straight as an American, that is a very, very real possibility that just increased in percentage. The percentage possibility that more Americans will die, and it won't be military. It'll be some other form of terror or other activity. Be mindful of that. Be aware of that. I'll say this too. If you're watching my show, if you're one of mine in any capacity, be careful, travel, think twice, and definitely out of country. Seriously. Stay home for a while because we don't know. And you can't be protected out there the same way that you can be when you're here. Okay? That's my show for tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday. Looking forward to you. We'll be back with more positive women for my female friends, my female followers and listeners, and my young Mexican, young Hispanic, young Latino, young minority, young male members in general, to give some love and respect and some support to the women out there that are kicking ass and doing good things. Nothing but love for you. I'll see you next week.